So I don't really have like a lined up set of questions so I just figured we'd keep this one candid and just talk about kind of whatever you want to talk about. On the internet, how I know you is through my YouTube channel, which is where this is going to show up in the first place. So we'll just go over like the kind of stuff that the questions that you have asked me before, and then I'll just fill in the gaps and you can fill me in on like what you've done in your career and stuff like that. All I know really is like what you have on your social media and stuff like that. I believe you've done like two comics, some children's books. You're an artist. I'm assuming you're also a writer as well. And so you go by Goblin Grimm.
Yeah. Yeah, I ended up having to do the writing myself on my current comic because situations with hiring writers and working with, quote unquote friends on projects. So, it doesn't always work out.
So I didn't see like any like live Kickstarters, even past Kickstarter pages. So how did you distribute your comics? Were they online, or do you have a website, or what's the main like distribution platform you've been using?
So I haven't ventured into Kickstarter yet. I'm actually looking at maybe doing my first one for some plant sticks that I designed. But usually I just get anywhere from 50 to 100 copies printed of the books, and then I sell some on my online shop, and I take them to conventions with me.
Who do you use to print?
Greco Printing, they're also known as Comic Wellsprings.
Okay. Yep,
They're
I know
somewhat
them.
local. Yeah, they're somewhat local. They're located downstate from me here in Michigan.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was
So,
like, you're Midwest, right? So you're
yep,
Michigan.
yep. So they arrive pretty quick. Like I put in an order, and as soon as I approve the proof, they're at my doorstep within 7 days. So,
So how many conventions do you go to a year?
usually I try to do at least three a year, and I really didn't sign up for a whole lot this year, but it ended up being that for a while now I'm gonna have one every month for a couple months. So
Nice. Okay. Are you gonna print more of all the stuff you've done? Like, do you sell? How well do you sell at the conventions you go to? Like, is it enough to where you can sell everything you print, like the few hundred or the hundred?
no, there's a lot of times I'm sitting on a lot of those. If I get like a print run of 100, I'm gonna be sitting on those for a year and a half, maybe even 2 years, depending on how things are going. There's been a couple of times where because I usually just get like an art book printed, where I'll just do a culmination of a bunch of my former art and some current projects and future projects. I put it all in a little booklet, kind of like a paperback comic, and I might have copies of those kicking around for like a few years before they're completely sold out. Um, the last batch that I had was I had worked on a short comic for an anthology for Source Point Press with a friend of mine,
Okay.
and we had an ash can of that, and I bought out the last of their paperback ash cans that they had through Source Point Press, and I think I sold the last copy of that a couple months ago. I think I had them for almost a year, but that one was sold out pretty good just because mostly of the friend that I was working with, she's insanely popular. She's got her own TikTok channel, and she's got almost 2 million followers, and she's got like a very loyal fan following. So that
Yeah,
did
two
not hurt
million's
any.
just a little bit, you know.
Yeah, just a little bit, So, but yeah, she's in high demand, so people were really happy to get something that she worked on. And I also mailed her all the copies I had for her to sign and then mail back. So they were actually signed by her as well.
Awesome. I forgot. Since you're an artist, you probably you were selling more than just your comics. You're probably selling prints and like
Oh yeah.
pins and all that stuff. So that's like your main sale point. What's your like average take home? Like whenever you go to like how big are when you say like three, what conventions are you going to, and how much do those tables cost? Do you know?
So the conventions I usually end up doing, they're not like massively big. I'm not doing like Wizard World or anything like that. I think like the biggest one that I usually end up doing whenever I have the money to get in is Motor City Comic Con.
I
I'm
know
still
that
staying,
that's a big one though.
yeah,
In
still
up north.
staying pretty local. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but usually like I have a convention at the Midland Mall next month, and that's a pretty good one, and it's growing. And but they're not massively big, but I have done a couple of like even smaller ones, you know, like they're set up in like a gym or something somewhere. Um, I figured that if I can take the table cost, which is usually anywhere from uh like $50 at the extremely low end to, you know, $200-300 on the medium and high end is like a $500 table, which I've done a few of those, and those are kind of hit and miss. But if I could take the table cost plus, you know, the hotel cost or whatever, because I'm usually splitting that in half with my roommate, since he's the one driving. Uh, if I could take all that cost, and if I can get like at least 400 over that cost, and I consider it, you know, a decent show.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah, for sure. If you can cover all break even on the table and the convention and still be making a few hundred, yeah, you're doing well. And from my perspective, I know, I mean, I know that there are some artists that can just kill it, and like to them, if they make less than 2 grand, they're, like upset. But for the most of us, especially unknown creators or very like low level indie creators that aren't artists, where I'm just selling books and possibly like prints that my artist will, my artists that I've worked with their artwork or something like that.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm lucky to break even on a table that's more than 500, even at a bigger convention. But I haven't done that much, and I'm not a great salesman.
same. My the first couple of years that I did conventions, I literally hid behind my table, and my two roommates at the time ran my table for me, and it got really annoying because people thought that they were the artist.
Yeah.
And so eventually I kind of had to get over that, and I started looking for like tips and tricks on how to run my table. And the best thing I found was an article on DeviantArt written by another comic book artist, talking about ways to essentially greet your customers and run your table and, you know, gain sales. And it was a really good article, and I send it to any of my other friends that are having problems selling at their table. But then I always see them doing the things that that article tells you not to do, like, you know, like sitting there playing on your phone, sitting there drawing and not addressing the customers. If you're able-bodied to stand up and greet your customers, you know, you should be standing up and greeting the customers. um, Having a physical barrier between yourself and your customers, like a table or a checkout station, uh, establishes that you're the person there to sell, and that you're the person to talk to for questions. And I have a couple of friends that have their vending tents, and they're sitting in a corner in their chair, and there's like no barrier between them and the customer, and they're just sitting there doing whatever. And so people don't stop and ask questions, because to them you just look like a person just sitting there. You know, they don't know if you're sitting there taking a rest or if you're the person in charge or what.
Yeah, that makes sense. What else was in that article? Fill me in.
I probably still have it saved. I can always send you the link
Yeah, for
too. But
sure. Send me that link. I'll probably go over it, make a video about it. Cause like,
yeah,
uh, kind of my whole thing is that, it's in the same way that people that make movies, it's the same with people that make comics, that conventions are sort of in the end like they it's kind of like when in the end when everything is done, like the real way, the hands on the, like boots on the ground, like do it yourself method is you have to go on tour just like anybody else. If you're a band, you might sell your album, it might get on the radio, but eventually you have to go on tour and you have to actually go in
right.
front of people. It's the same with comics. And whether you're a big super celebrity in the space that's only going to 3 a year and they're huge, or if you're just indie level like we are and you're going to those in your own home state or within a driving distance away, or you might go to one big one a year, it's like kind of the only real sort of guaranteed way to grow your audience and sell your comics without some kind of sales funnel method or traditional distribution and publishing methods that everyone else goes through. And
Oh,
so it's like really important, I feel, for everybody to learn just the art of what's it like to go to them. How do you, set up, sell? What are the key ways to actually go? Because just like anything else, you can also fail at it and
yeah.
choose bad conventions to go to where you overspend on big ones and don't bring enough merchandise or don't split tables like you're saying. Is that what so like you split with your roommate and
Oh no, I didn't split with them. I literally let them run my table because I have social anxiety. So I was literally not representing my own brand. I was letting someone else do it. And it's very important that you definitely represent yourself, because then, people, otherwise it seems disingenuous when they're talking to someone who's not the artist, and the artist is literally hiding out behind their table. Um,
yeah.
and also on the whole promotion thing, and social media has definitely played a huge part in getting my stuff out there. I just sent a package of stickers and stuff that I make to the Netherlands today,
Nice.
thanks to social media. So I had actually, my roommate is a writer, and he's been working on his own comic for a while, and he's been having all kinds of issues. And I got tired of listening to him uh, complain about, not being able to promote his book and stuff because he doesn't have the book completely done. I'm like, dude, you have pages, you have you're able to talk about your book. So I wrote him out a whole playlist of things to do as far as social media. So, get an Instagram, get a TikTok, get in front of the camera and talk about your project, talk about your comic, show off the artwork that you have, talk about your idea or the concept behind the comic and how you created it. Like, there's so many things on social media that you can do now to basically build your audience. And then once you have a established built audience, you can possibly look into getting a Patreon or something like that to help fund that product and that book. And so I've been like kind of pounding that into his head, like you need to break down and get the social media accounts. You need to start doing this and just get out there and talk about your product until you have it in hand and able to go promote, at conventions and stuff. And even then, like, there's going to be like, the off season where there's not going to be so many conventions that you could go to, or maybe all the good ones are out of state, or you don't have the funds to travel. Like, you can still um talk about it on your social media, or from doing conventions, if you make friends or whatever, you find a friend that does like 5 conventions a month or whatever, some crazy unreasonable thing like that, and they're
Yeah.
traveling all the time. You can talk to them about, like, hey, do you mind taking like, I will sell you some of my books wholesale so that you can take them with you and sell them at your booth, and then that helps get my stuff out there. So
Smart.
sometimes you got to do those wholesale, pitches, and see if you can find that friend that does all that traveling and stuff to put your book on their table.
Yeah, yeah. Smart. Were you going to conventions before you ever had a comic book to sell? Like you were saying, like did you go to conventions just to do uh art books and just having just plain art?
So the first convention I went to was one that doesn't exist anymore. It's Detroit Fan Fair. No, it was Motor City, or not Motor City. It was Cherry Capital Comic Con. I went to Cherry Capital first, and then Detroit Fan Fair. So we went to Cherry Capital Comic Con first, and we ran into a batch of guys that were running a table. They had their own publishing company called Rapid Fire Comics, and my roommate's very social, so he ended up instantly making friends with these guys, and they were super super cool. They loved my artwork because I'm walking around with my portfolio, because it was first convention I did, and I was trying to see if I could get, like, a job, working on some comics or doing some covers for other people. And this batch of guys, they ended up inviting us to hang out with them at their table and stuff, which was great. And then after the show, Terrell Smith, the owner of Rapid Fire Comics, he gave me the contact information and told me who to talk to about getting a table there the following year. And then he's like, "Oh, hey, we're doing another convention next month. Detroit Fan Fair. So we looked into that and we ended up going. Uh, and we ended up running into Terrell there again, and he had his table. Well, he only really had enough stuff to fill half a table. And he's like, "Hey, do you want the other half of my table? Like, I see you brought your artwork with you. Maybe you could sell some." I was like, "Cool." So that was the first convention table I had, was
Hmm.
taking up half of his space. And within the first hour, I made over $100 selling some original drawings out of there. I didn't even
Nice.
have art prints.
Whoa.
And the table next to us didn't show up. So the guy who's running convention came through me. He's like, "Hey, fill up this other table." So I ended up getting my very first table absolutely for free because the other person next to us didn't show up, and that sometimes happens.
Yeah.
And then I ventured into doing art prints, and then eventually I started doing stickers, which stickers pay for my table essentially, no matter what show I do. You know, little $2 stickers, people will buy those up like crazy.
Do you
Art
do
prints,
like promotional deals? Like that was one of the things did not know going into it and learned quickly
yeah.
was doing like buy four, get,
Oh
two
yeah,
free, or buy a bundle of these things. So like you're always, everybody that comes through, you're like making 10, $15 no matter, or more.
bundle deals is the best way to do it. If you have your book and you have like an art print, and then say you have like a sticker pack or even just one sticker, knock like $2 off price, or give them the sticker for free and like $1 off the print, and bundle that together and sell it as is. So I mean, if you
Yeah.
think about it, you're for like art prints for like an 11 by 17, you're usually paying like $1 to $2 per print, depending on the type of paper and all that, and the size and all and everything. So prints are fairly cheap, and you're marking those up to 10, sometimes $15. I've seen people selling in prints for like $20. And so you're making a hell of a profit off of that print alone. So you can afford to knock that price down significantly. And people just see that, like, "Oh, hey, I'm saving $5 by buying this bundle." So they're instantly gonna be like, "Yeah, give me all the things. Like, give me all that."
Yeah. Yeah. Man,
And
that's why
art,
it's like books are so much harder, is because the,
yeah, bundle
yeah,
them with stuff.
yeah, you got to do that. You got to, something that is a bit cheaper to print. Like I always had people that if I tried to sell even graphic novels
Mm.
for anything more than like $10 or $15, they would just be like, I'm not paying that because it says $10 on the book, because that's what it was initially through the comic shops, what it sold as. And if I
Yeah.
tried to be like, well, this is out of print and I'm selling it for 20 because I have to pay for the printing or whatever, they would just not do it unless I was like, well, I'll give you three comics. They're normally $8 each or $10 each, but I'm gonna like it's I don't know. It's like I always had to do this weird salesy finagling of being like, well, I can give you this, this, and that, and make it seem like a deal. Otherwise, they would always just be like upset if I just made it be like, this is flat 20, this is flat 10. You get what you get, regardless of whatever it says on the book.
So sometimes you got to use psychological warfare, essentially. Um,
Yeah, and I'm
so
not good at that.
so I suggest looking into the psychology of supermarkets. I did a whole term paper in psych about how stores are set up, and even how, like, during certain times of day they will play different types of music to get the flow of shoppers to change. So like at during the
Whoa.
day, they'll play more upbeat, faster music because there's more people shopping during the day. So they want more rotation of people. They want people to come in, grab their stuff, shop, go, and then so that way there's room for the next batch of people to come through. Whereas at night, if the store is open 24/7, they're going to play slower music, like elevator music, because they want that person, because there's less shoppers in there, so they want that person to stay in there longer and take their time shopping and possibly impulse shop more. Or
Hmm.
like with more high-end products, like name brand products, there's a sweet spot on the shelves that they pay premium money to put their product in those parts of the shelves, because they're at more of an eye level or easier to grab. So people are going to shop that item a lot faster and a lot more. than an item that is at like knee level or above your head. And
That makes
so
sense.
you can kind of take and kind of work those kind of tactics into, what you're doing at the table. Or like with like restaurants, when you go to a restaurant, you look at the menu. There's no dollar sign in front of the price. It just says 12. It doesn't say 12 with a dollar sign on it. So you're not equating that number to monetary. You're not looking at that going, oh wow, that costs $12 for that. You're just looking at that number going, yeah, that seems like a reasonable number. So, you can use that, or again with grocery stores, that whole like if a product costs like $5, they're going to put on the price tag that it's 4.99 because it makes you think like, oh hey, it's cheap. It's only 4.99. You're not rounding that up
Yeah,
to a full dollar.
subconsciously you think four rather than five. I that one I would understood. Do you have you ever used music at your tables? Have you ever tried? I have seen people do that. Not comic creators, but I've seen the people selling Funkos and stuff will just set up and start playing, the Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack and hype people up. And I've seen some people like it's really powerful and everybody's like happy about it. And then I've been to other conventions where people are like, "Oh, this guy and his music."
Yeah. So I wouldn't be able to do the music thing because I can't raise my voice at all. I have
Yeah.
my vocal cords are damaged, so I
But I
cannot
was
get loud.
thinking
I'm
if you
actually
played like slow music, like you're saying, or almost like
yeah.
melodic or like creepy music, if you're making like just kind of like almost like ambient background Halloweeny music, if you were
So
selling horror comics.
I actually use another little tactic. I get bed lifts that you put under your bed to lift your bed up,
Uh-huh.
and I put those under the table legs to lift the table up. So
Oh,
people aren't hunched over looking at my stickers. So they're not straining their back so much. So it ends up causing them to stand there a little bit longer. And also helps put a lot of the stuff out of reach of very small children. So you don't have to worry about little kids reaching up and like grabbing a fistful of stickers and messing them all up as much.
smart.
So that does help. I swiped that idea from a neighbor at a convention one year, and I've been using it ever since.
What else do you do? I feel like I already know the title of this video is going to be The Art of Comic Sales with Goblin Grimm.
Well, I mean, you if you stick to like a color theme for your setup, um, use a color that usually doesn't get seen very much at conventions. Like my colors are basically like a purple, pink, and charcoal gray, and almost everybody does pink. So pink is very, very oversaturated and used, especially at like anime conventions and stuff like that. A lot of them, the you know people that sell like cutesy stuff, and my stuff is usually kind of like cute and creepy, so it works. So I tend to lean more towards purple than pink for my setups. But having something that's eye catching, like your banner, um, a nice tablecloth, some sort of setup, or like I've seen people use props at their table to get people to come over and look at them. The only issue with that is that if it's a really cool prop, you always have somebody wanting to buy the prop, even though it's part of your setup. That
Yeah.
always happens. Um, but if you're going to use a prop, make sure it's relevant to whatever it is that you're selling. Like don't have like a Grogu baby Yoda sitting at your table and you're selling, like horror comics. It has nothing
Yeah.
to do with like sci-fi or Star Wars. Something like that. Um, Sitting there drawing does tend to bring a crowd, but again, that's one of those you want to be mindful of when customers come up to your table, so to set your stuff down and address your customer. Don't just sit there and keep drawing. I've seen people bring TV monitors and had those set up, or like a tablet, and just have like a slideshow on loop showing off artwork, or videos of,
Yeah,
of
I've
them
seen
doing
that and
something.
I've wanted to do that actually because I have like little trailers of my videos or like just kind of like GIFs looped kind of things. And I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
I should set that up.
Yeah, look at the one person I was looking at their setup. They essentially were using a jump starting kit for their car, and that's what they were running their tablet on, and they had like an extra large tablet, and they were just running that with footage on a loop, and it works.
Like that's how they were powering their
Yeah,
laptop?
yep. That way they didn't have to worry about the battery dying out or anything. And
That's
so
pro.
I have a little portable battery that I got off of Amazon, and I can run string lights off of that thing for like 5 hours for like outdoor shows and stuff. It's great.
Do you do any like other than comic conventions that are like outdoors, like farmers markets or anything like that?
Yeah, I do festivals. I used to do the county fair, but it's definitely not my scene.
Yeah,
Um,
are there themed like festivals in Michigan, like Renaissance fairs
oh
that
yeah,
you would like fit into?
yeah, we do have Ren fairs. I haven't gone to any yet, but I keep thinking about it, and I always forget that they're coming up until they're already like happening, and most of my friends are already gone.
We have a big
I'd
one
love.
in St. Louis, but it's like from my understanding that like competition to be a vendor is tight.
Yeah, there's some shows that it's really hard to get into. I've been trying to get into Astronomicon. It's a big convention here. The very first year I got in, because I had connections with one of the stars of the show, but I didn't have the money to pay for my table, so I ended up having to back out, and now it's been impossible to get in ever since. Like I can make it to the waiting list, and right now I'm on the waiting list for both vendor or artist and artist alley, but because they give the tables priority to people who have vended and tabled there before. So there's like you can apply, but you literally have to wait for somebody who has been doing the convention for a while to drop out for whatever reason before you can get in.
Yeah, dang.
Yeah, so it's been pretty hard, and there's some conventions that have been really tough to try to get into. The only other one that I've had any issues trying to get into has been Grand Rapids Comic Con, and other than that, like so far I've been lucky and been able to get into every other convention that I apply for. But I also, again, I haven't applied to any like massively huge ones yet.
Yeah, I unless like I am applying last minute, um, haven't had much difficulty with local conventions. But yeah, anything that's specialty or anything that's really big, I like. I feel like I'm always denied. Like this year, I was denied to C2E2 in
Yeah,
Chicago, but I just found out that I might be. I was like invited to help with an awards organization. So I might be going anyway. But it's funny how that
awesome.
always works out. But I also found out that apparently the like pricing for the really big ones increased this year to the point that a lot of big names. This happened actually a few years ago,
Yeah,
to where that's why DC stopped going to San Diego, and then Image and Boom dropped out this year at those. I forget the like parent company that owns those conventions, but like New York Comic Con, San Diego Comic Con, C2E2. I guess it's understandable that if they're like either I don't know upping prices and cutting people out, but yeah, you have to be grandfathered in. I feel like, or have just be willing to pay for the exhibitor booth. I get responses back if I'm going for the as a business, like if I try to apply as Hove and Crow Entertainment, but if I try to apply for an artist alley or for a writer's block or whatever, then then I get pretty much denied. But
yeah.
what other avenues do you take to sell your artwork and comics aside from conventions? Like, how do you sell stuff online through your website?
So I have a shop set up through Store Envy.
Okay.
Kind of like what Etsy used to be. I hate Etsy so much.
Yeah, everyone I talk to says that.
Yeah, I'm so glad I backed out of Etsy before it got really crazy. But like with Store Envy, you can set up a shop on there completely for free. I mean, they do take a portion out, but the free option you can only have like 10 items listed. But still, like if you only have 10 items or less, like it's a great way to try that out. Um, but I have store envy. I started doing wholesale through Fair. I finally got an account on there.
That's
So
fair with an E, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I
hard to
started
get
to
in.
research that. Tell me more about that.
It can be a pain to get in. It took me over 2 years to finally get accepted, and I even used like somebody else's reference link and everything because they tell you that's the best way to get in, and that didn't work. I eventually got an account because, or got accepted anyway, because a buddy of mine opened up a Halloween store, and he put me down as a recommendation to sell through them, and it was finally accepted. So
Cool
I
on
got an
him.
account through there. And they, I mean, you're selling wholesale, so you're taking whatever you usually sell the item for and you're cutting that in half. But you can set, how many, what the minimum amount that someone else has to buy, or you can sell things as like a set or by the case. Um,
What are you
and they do
selling
take,
through them? Like your stickers and stuff like that, or are you selling comic?
yeah, stickers, keychains. I haven't gotten too much to sell comics all that much. Like I'm working on the layout right now for the Hell's Bells comic, and again, that's alongside my friend JC from TikTok. Uh, she is That's her intellectual property. I do the artwork and stuff, the official artwork and the official comics for her skits for her series, and so on Fair, I've been mostly doing like my keychains and stuff, and my biggest seller, I've been hand painting these little cutout wooden mushrooms, like 3D carved wooden mushrooms, and I turn them into tree ornaments. And then the smaller ones that turn them into keychains and earrings. And those damn wooden mushroom ornaments have been my best seller. And it's like, I have all these things pre-made, like all my other keychains. I can bulk order those. They're pre-made. I don't have to do anything with them, but everybody wants the item that I have to sit there and hand paint.
Yeah,
So I end up
of
with like
course.
a whole table just full of these mushrooms that I'm painting in like an assembly line type situation. Uh, and it takes quite a while, but yeah, that those have been my biggest seller, especially around Christmas. Those ornaments sold like crazy.
That's hilarious. That makes so much sense, though. That people are like, I want this handcrafted, organic looking mushroom because my friend loves mushrooms, or my kid loves Mario Brothers, or whatever.
Yep. And it's been, the cottagecore like craze has blown up on over on like TikTok and Instagram last like 2 years, which has helped. And a lot of people are trying to go for that organic, natural feel and stuff. And most of the shops end up buying those ornaments and the keychains and stuff are like wellness apothecaries and like witchy vibe stores.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think like a hair salon in Las Vegas bought a bunch.
Huh.
One of the other people that bought a bunch of them and even like put in like 3 orders over time is she was an interior designer. So she just goes around and makes people's houses look all nice. And like her whole style is like very beige, very modern. Like, and she wanted all of like my beige white painted mushrooms. So she bought like a whole bunch of those. And then when she saw the red ones, she's like, oh, I like those too. And then she went and bought like another batch of those.
That's awesome, man.
But yeah, through that, and like I said, my friend opened up a Halloween store, so he's like, oh yeah, you can have a little section. I'm like, oh cool. So my little section turned into me taking over half of a wall with
Nice.
all of my stuff. And then he's like, hey, you're like a third of my sales. He's like, I
Whoa.
can, yeah, he's like, I could tell when somebody comes in the door that they're going to gravitate right to your stuff and that they're going to buy something because he's like your fandom has a look. Like he's like they're multicolored hair, neurodivergent little like alt looking kids, and as soon as they come in and they see the wall of all your shiny stuff, like they instantly just head right for it.
So
So
you've got stuff in Halloween stores, physical stores. You've got your stuff on Fair, so selling wholesale. You've got your stuff on Store Envy. You go to comic conventions. With Store and V, does that have organic traffic? Like, do people find your stuff just through the Store and V site, or do you have to
No,
guide
not
them to your
really.
shop? How do you guide people to your shops? Like, through social media and stuff.
Yeah, so I use Linktree to put all my links up. So the great thing about Linktree is like, because if you get like a business card and you put your website, your URL printed on that card, and say that like the host site that you have your website for is no longer active, so you have to get another website. Well, with so then you have to like reprint all your business cards. So I
Mm-hmm.
just use Linktree. So if I have to change like a website or I can add something or take something away, I don't have to go and reprint everything or worry about like, oh my God, I have like thousands of business cards out there in the ether from like years ago. And people are, if they stumble upon it and go to look me up, they're not going to be able to find my website because it no longer exists. So with Linktree, I can just go into the account and add or subtract or change those links there. And I post that URL on all of my social media or even have that printed on my card. And they also give you a QR code that you can print out and people can use that to scan. I don't have to worry about reprinting things or worrying about, like website being, the information being out of date or wrong. So, on like TikTok, for example, if you have 1,000 followers, you can have a clickable link on your profile. So I'll do videos showing off like the merch that I have, or if I'm doing like a live stream and working on art, people are like, "Oh my God, I love that! I want I want to get some of your stuff. How do I get it?" I could just tell them like the link is in the bio. So they go to the bio, click on that link, and it brings up my link tree. And then on the link tree, it's just got a whole list of all of the clickable links for like all my social media, my shop, and you can arrange them in any order you want. You can add pictures to them. It's freaking amazing. So a lot of times I just put my link tree on freaking everything and it works great. Um, that's
So,
one way. Yeah.
what? I haven't seen your TikTok videos. What do your videos consist of?
A lot of I do every time that I get a shop order, I'm trying to pack an order on camera, and usually talking about something or showing off like what products people got. I watching your cat get in the camera, that's what my cat likes to do too. Her name's Zelda. She's got to get in front of the camera while I'm trying to pack orders, and people absolutely love her. She even has her own merch. And if I'm
Nice.
packing an order and Zelda jumps up on frame, everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, Zelda just blessed the order." Or if they find like a cat hair in their order or whatever, they're like, "Oh, I got Zelda confetti." Like
So
nobody,
people watch you as like a day in the life of a working artist.
kind of, yeah. Usually just the packing orders, or like I'll do a video where I'm doing some artwork. Um, because I do merch and character designs for See You Later, my friend JC on TikTok. A lot of times I get tagged by other fans when they find another video where someone's like, "Oh my God, I need an artist for this t-shirt design," or "I need an artist for this children's book illustration," or whatever. And I'll get like 5 or 6 tags from people like, "Oh my gosh, you should use Goblin Grimm and go look at Goblin Grimm stuff." So then I will go and check that out and see if it's something I'm interested in doing, and I'll sometimes contact the person who posted that video and be like, "Hey, I saw you needed an artist. These are my rates or whatever." And I've done a couple of illustrations or designs for free for people on there too, given whatever the situation is.
Mm-hmm.
The most recent, his family was doing a children's book for their little boy, um, who's got terminal cancer, and they wanted to do like a children's book for him. And so I submitted some artwork for that, and ended up becoming friends with the dad and the essentially the uncle who's putting this all together and stuff. So that was pretty cool.
That so the
Um,
book was written like for the hit for him.
yeah,
That's
and they're
awesome.
they're they're wanting to get the illustrations and stuff done and get this book done. Unfortunately, before the little boy does pass, because it's bad.
Yeah, darn.
It's sad. Yeah, it's been rough. Uh, but yeah, they're wanting to do that for him, and it was something to help other families that are going through the same situation. Because that's it's just not fair for a little kid to look at their mortality like that. So that was
Yeah,
one of those ones that I did completely free. I wasn't expecting anything from it. Did a couple of duets and stitches with some of their videos, so trying to get some more eyes on them and what they were doing. Um, trying to get my following to kind of go over there and get invested in that so that when the book does come out they can buy it or whatever, or maybe they themselves are also an artist and they want to contribute something to this project. They can do that. That would be very helpful.
nice. I feel like we've covered a lot of ground. What avenues do you do to uh sell your art that are like out there that wouldn't know about and other people wouldn't really know about, that you're like, well, I do go to parks every Sunday and or something.
I know randomly sometimes, like if I go to like a bar or whatever with a friend and we're sitting there drawing and stuff, there's a few occasions where somebody's like, "Oh, I really like that," and I want to buy it, and I'll like, yeah, sell it to you, because otherwise I end up with like a whole stack of original drawings because I do so much drawing. So I have no problem selling things off, and a lot of times I'll even sell them off cheap and irritate my artist friends like, man, you could have got so much more for that. And I'm like, yeah, but it was taking up space. I need it gone and I need money. So
Yeah.
um but yeah, and I've done craft shows before too, which is different. And usually I'm the oddball there because like I said, most of my stuff's like creepy cute. And so I'm like in between a little grandma making doilies and next to and then like on my other side is somebody making like these really cute plushy stuffed animals, and I'm over here with my hand painted mushrooms and hand painted knives because I do portraits
You fit
on
right in.
knives.
That's
Yeah,
hilarious.
so
Yeah, that's like, oh yeah, I just can imagine it because I've been to craft shows that are like that. And it's just like all, oh, here's my little, uh, I forget what you call those, pipe cleaner like crafts, and it's like I've got demon masks.
yeah. Well, and that was kind of how I got started. And when I started doing conventions, I was like, man, this was just like, helping grandma doing craft shows, because I used to go with my grandmother all the time to do craft shows because she was, doing knitting and crocheting, and her husband made like little wooden things. And I would go with grandma almost every weekend, like up to Mackinac or whatever, to go to different craft shows or stuff like that. And I'd help her set up, and I'd help her run her table, and I'd walk around and go look at all what other people had. And by the end of the day, I'd have all these old ladies coming up like, "Oh, where's your grandson? He's so cute. He really liked this. It didn't sell." So I'd come home with like a ton of stuff. And my mom's like, "I only gave you $5. Where'd you get all this?" I'm like, "Because I'm cute."
Yeah, cute
So
always wins.
yeah, I got free stuff because I'm cute. But working with grandma and watching her, run the craft show and helping her out with that, that gave me a lot of insight to, running, comic book convention, table. So once I kind of put two and two together on that, it's like, whoa, this is just like a craft show for nerds.
Yeah,
So this is
essentially.
great. Yeah.
So you already had the practice from childhood.
Yeah. And it helped. And then like learning, having appealing looking packaging and stuff like that. I learned that from hanging out at we had a store called Trash, and the guy who ran that like would give us tips and tricks on how to basically DIY your own packaging and make things look legit and professional. And that carried over as well. And so now like the company that I get my art prints through, I also use them for printing like my little backing boards and stuff for my packaging for stickers and keychains and stuff. And that's
Okay.
been great.
Do you sell clothing like t-shirts or hoodies or anything like that with your artwork on it?
I do have a Teespring shop. I haven't really promoted it or added anything new to it in ages. Um, I'm not too terribly impressed with their quality lately. Like I've had a couple of shirts where a few washes in the washer and the image
Yeah,
is already
that's
starting to
definitely
crack,
true. I
so that's been irritating.
That may be why I don't. I feel like whenever I go to conventions, I don't see enough people with T-shirts of their artwork because that's something that I am always interested. I'm like, yeah, if I like your artwork, I'm not somebody that has enough space to post prints everywhere.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
but I will wear their clothes, and but I think that just speculating now, like you said, is that well, it's not like it's hard. You have to sell it pretty high to profit how much you're
yeah.
paying for them, and they aren't that great a quality. And if you do want to pay for the quality that you feel is worth it, that people probably really will want, then you're going to be paying $14 for the shirt and have to sell it for 50.
Yeah, well, if you're looking for like print on demand, which is the way to go for clothing anyways, is print on demand services, but you want to find one that's got a good quality. So you have to order like samples and try those out. Um, but if you're looking at, having a bunch of shirts screen printed, which screen print is, I would say it would be the more durable and long-term option for as far as shirts and stuff go. Um, the only issue with that is that if you're looking at getting shirts printed and then selling them at your booth and stuff, kitty cat,
Sorry.
is that you're like how many of the medium do you bring? How many smalls do you bring? How many extra larges? Stuff like that. Like how much overhead you have to bring, and then where are you going to store all of those shirts? Like there, you only have so much space under your table.
Yeah,
So it's like
makes sense.
how many do you bring? How much? Where do you put them all? Is it really worth carrying around like totes and totes full of shirts? Um,
Especially
whereas,
when you can sell prints and make more off them and you can
yeah,
fit them all in one thing. It makes total sense
and I've
actually
been
now that you
finding
say it.
with art prints over the last couple of years because 11 by 17 has always been the standard size for like an art print at conventions, and art prints just have not been selling very well in the last like 3 or 4 years.
Hmm.
The sales of art prints that I've observed personally and from other friends have gone down. But if you are going to do art prints, have a variety of sizes, like, have your 11 by 17s, but also have like a standard uh 9 by 12 or something like that, or even have like some postcard size mini prints because not everybody has like the space on their walls. Conventions have been going around for a while and they've been popular for years. So you imagine that a lot of these people that are buying prints probably have the majority of their walls already filled up with large
Yeah.
prints. So now they're just looking for little things to fill those holes. Um, and again, for me, the best sellers have been stickers. Stickers have been the biggest sellers, and I did keychains, and those have been doing really well. And then I found out that my manufacturer, if I go take like my design for a keychain and I shrink it down to an inch and a half or 2 inches for the charms and just make those into earrings, those have been selling like crazy. Because you got to think about it that most of the people at conventions are going to be spending a lot of money, tend to be women or female presenting people that want that shiny, dangly, cute thing. So like earrings, any kind of like little jewelry or something shiny and eye catching, those tend to do really, really well.
Huh. That makes sense. Who do you use to like print your stickers? Like, are they a company I could use too if I wanted to
Yeah.
print characters of mine?
So I usually have my affiliate links in my link tree as well near the bottom for everything that I
I'll
use
use it.
regularly. Yeah. So if I want more, like I use sticker wrap if I want something more hands-on and fancy. So with sticker wrap, you're literally controlling your cut lines and stuff like that. You can leave them a message like, "Hey, I need a circle cut out of the middle of this sticker so it actually looks like a donut," and
Whoa,
they will do
okay.
it. You can add that as a note. But you can change your cut lines and stuff, or you could change your background color on it so it's like got a full bleed on, all the way to the edges of the sticker. I can kind of get that same results with the stick oh, excuse me, the Sticky brand. That's another sticker company I use. Their minimum order is 100. So if you're wanting like a smaller minimum, I would suggest Sticker app. But the Sticky brand is a good way, an affordable way to get like a bulk order, like say if you want to get like 100 stickers and they're running a deal where you can get 100 3-inch die cut stickers for like $39, that's a nice way to stock up
Oh, duh,
on,
yeah.
and they're very durable. Like I have stickers from them and from Sticker App on like water bottles and cups and stuff, and they've been through the dishwasher. They've sat in a sink full of water for days, and they're still stuck on there. People have my stickers stuck on their vehicles, and like they're there. They're in general, if you can get a sticker on a vehicle to last 2 years, then that's good. And I've seen a couple of my stickers out in the wild on a vehicle for like 3 or 4 years so far. So they are very good quality. And then for uh like the acrylic charms for like the keychains and stuff like that, and they also do lanyards. I use Vograce. They're a company out of
Vobrace? How do you spell that?
uh Vograce.
Okay, Vograce.
Yeah. So they
Gotcha.
are out of China. So it does take a while for the products to arrive. Um, but I do have a representative with the company, which is really, really nice. It makes my orders go through faster. And they do speak really good English for being in China and whatnot. They're very adept with working with artists and creators here in America. So that made things so much easier. I can actually explain if I want something done a certain way, and they have no problem understanding it. It's been great. One of the other companies I use is out of the UK, and they're called Zap Creative, and they've been really good as well. I've had a few issues with some orders through Zap. They are quick to fix them and replace the order, so that's been really, really helpful. But they also do like the acrylic charms and some other stuff. They also do stickers as well.
Is that just
Uh,
spelled ZAP?
Yeah, yep. If you just type in Zap Creative UK, it'll bring it right up.
Nice.
And again, with being out of country, it does take you're looking at like a month to 2 month for you to actually get your products. So it does take a while. So plan ahead of time if you have like a convention coming and you need like new keychains or something and you want to get them done. Um, Plan ahead at least 2.5 months ahead, so that way you make sure that you get that product in hand before your convention. But it is worth it, and so far Vogue Race has been the more affordable of the two. um for the same for I just put in an order with both companies, and they were about the same, like about $300 per order, but I was able to order more charms through Vogue Race than I was through Zap.
Okay.
But it was one of those where I was walking around Artist Alley at conventions and looking at all these cool keychains that people had, and um, luckily I didn't. There's a little bit of gatekeeping in the community. There's some people that will like bite your head off if you ask for their manufacturer or whatever. But I've gotten really lucky at most of the events in person I've done. If I ask like, "Hey, these look great. Who do you go through?" People have been very friendly and happy to help with that information and let me know. And again, with those companies, they have affiliate links. So if you use someone else's affiliate link to open up an account and put your first order in, you get a discount on your first order. And then the person you got that affiliate link from also gets a discount off of their next order, or they earn
Nice.
points or whatever. So it's beneficial. Um, so again, like I have no problem sharing my manufacturers with people,
Yeah, thanks a
especially to
lot.
get
Cause
some
yeah, I never
points.
understood some of that. I mean, I get like not sharing pricing, or I understand that people have personal relationship with certain manufacturers, but it's
Yeah,
like you don't have to be rude about it, or that I asked, or that I want to know, or that I'm trying to get on board. And it's not like these things are deliberately kept secrets. It's more like they're just being selfish because they don't want everybody to learn or to change their rate.
yeah. Sometimes, I know some people have the stance that, like, well, if you have a bad experience with this manufacturer, kind of thing, like then you would hold me responsible for your bad experience. And I kind of get that point of view, but
Yeah, I
I've
don't know
been
that I kind of get that, but yeah, that's
kinda, yeah.
yeah.
But I belong to I had belonged to a Facebook group that was just for Artist Alley, just for the sole reason of sharing, your resources or tips and tricks and helping each other out. And I used to, post my manufacturers on there all the time before I started doing, keychains and enamel pins. And no problem. People would, like, oh my God, thank you for the resource. Thank you so much. Thank you for the info. But the moment that I had posted a thing and they're like, hey, I'm looking at this company and this company for enamel pins. Does anybody have any recommendations, or, have you used these companies? Are they any good? And I got dog piled on by by a couple of users in that group that were like, you're not doing your research, you're just fishing for other people's information. But like, they got mean. I ended up leaving the group. And apparently, like, enamel pins back in the day, like, 6 or 7 years ago, was like such a highly guarded secret. Like, if you asked for an enamel pin manufacturer, you'd get snapped at. Now everybody's like, oh yeah, I use such and such company, or I use this company, or I go search on Alibaba Express for pins or whatever, and then I found this company or whatever. So,
Yeah, I
they're out
guess
there.
it's like Uh, part of that I get to where it's like, yeah, just do your research. Stop just going to groups and asking these questions that it's like this stuff is tailored to what you're looking for. It's not a
Yeah,
general answer. Or I get that people might think that you're just shilling like some kind of name if someone asks and you say, oh, this and this, just because you're trying to get your affiliate link or whatever. And I
yeah.
sort of get some of that, but just the general, like you said, people just get mad. Like that's this known secret that you don't ask for my
And they
enamel pen manufacturer.
Yeah, and the annoying part was is that I had done the research. I had found these two companies, and I was like, hey, does anybody have experience working with these two companies, or do you have a better one that you can suggest? So I had been doing research, but at the time, like, you're looking at enamel pins and you're looking at like your very first order being like 500 or $500 or more, because you have to pay for the molds to be made for your pin. And so that's usually like a $300 fee right there alone. And then like your second order is going to be cheaper because that mold is already made. So, when you're looking into all that, like, if you're just starting out, you don't have, $500-600 to test out a company. Like, you
Yeah.
kind of don't want to go into it blind. And they were people that were just like, well, I had to do it. But it's like, yeah, we get it. You had to be on the struggle bus. We're all kind of, sitting with each other on that bus. But,
Well, they should
like,
just charge for that information. It's the same sense that, like,
yeah,
I've built a lot of my following in a sense as people reaching out to me and they are just asking, like, hey, I have this kind of, it's a weird comedy, and I'm trying to find a publisher. Can you help me out on figuring out, A, like, which ones are actually worth publishing with? Who would publish this kind of book? How much would it
mhm,
cost? How much would I make? And once they start asking enough questions, it's like, hey, Um, I actually know all these answers. I started out just giving that stuff for free, turned them into YouTube videos, then turned them into a whole coaching services and ebooks, and I now have a course out. And it's
yeah,
like, so these people, it's like, don't be rude. Just now you've learned, like, hey, you have valuable information now. You should just treat it valuable. Don't treat it as like a secret that you can't, that you should just like get mad at people asking for and telling them like he's like they're coming at you like, well, I had to spend money to figure this out. Yeah, some of us had to spend more than money to figure out some of these secrets. And by the time we solved the secrets, the world changed,
yeah,
like with filmmaking. It's like now, you can't do what we did 10 years ago. You can't sell your movie to Netflix like you could in 2010.
yeah. And you can take all, like, that's how a lot of people make their money on Patreon, is they're taking that valuable information that they have mixed with like their perspective of things and turning it into like a monthly course on their Patreon. Or like drawing tutorials, or webinars and stuff on business and stuff like that. And
Yeah,
you
the
know,
audience for that is huge. Regardless of how many people that are making it, I still see more and more people searching for it. Or like a lot of people that find me, they're artists that are looking for that kind of stuff. And it's like, dang, like it's out there, guys.
yeah, and the huge suggestion for anybody that is an artist or a creative, like, we're good at making the things, but we're not good at selling the things or selling ourselves in essence, along with the things that we created. A lot of us are very introverted, or when it comes to the business side of things, like we have no idea.
That's
um
why I'm here, and that's why I'm talking to you right now.
yeah.
You filled me in
So,
on so much of those gaps. Thank you.
yeah, I'm looking at our local college, or they sometimes have open business classes, and me and my buddy who owns the Halloween store, we're looking at maybe signing up for some business courses and taking business class, because those are huge, you know, very useful for selling your stuff. Like, you need to
Hmm.
know the business side of being an artist, because that's something that they don't teach you at art school. If you manage to, be able to go to art school, uh, which is insanely expensive. So there's some art schools that it costs more to go to certain art schools than it does for you to go to like Harvard Law School. It's insane.
Yeah, like if some people trying to go to Full Sail or something, like
Yeah.
some of these like very specialized, very big. Yeah, I know it's
And
insane.
so when you get out of college, when you get out of art school, it's like you need to have that business savvy to so that way you can pay off them student loans.
Yeah,
Uh
yeah,
it
you
gets
need to get an
crazy.
MBA in addition to that art degree, or else you're struggling.
Yeah, so a business course of some sort would be perfect for anybody that is looking at turning what they're doing into some sort of marketable skill or product. um I know a lot of people are like, oh, natural talent, if you're turning your talent or your hobby into a business. It's like, it's not really a natural talent, because it's a skill. It's still something that you have to work on to improve. And you can have like a natural aptitude for learning faster than other people, but it's still, you're still learning. It's still a skill that you're working on.
Yeah. Hey, we're at an hour, man. It feels like that
Yeah.
time has gone by crazy, but I do have to wrap up. So what do you want to end on? Do you have anything to promote?
Right now I am putting together the layout and everything for the first fully done Hell's Bells comic book. Partnered with See You Later on TikTok. Um, and I'm hoping to again mail all the copies to her to sign, and so that way they'll be signed by us both. I redid the writing and basically rebooting a comic book series I started years ago called Femme Fatale. It's like a set in the 90s. It's a like a monster hunter type story, with a character who's half indigenous and half Scottish.
Whoa, half
um
indigenous, like to the Americas?
yeah, yeah. I'm
Okay,
I'm
great
part
combo.
part yeah, I'm part Blackfoot on my dad's side, so it was like, I didn't know a whole lot about my own heritage, so it gave me an opportunity to do some research and look into things, and getting into like Native American cryptids and lore. And it was like, oh, there's so much I could work with
Yeah,
here.
that you can go deep into that, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah. And and I was I'm an 80s 90s kid, so like it takes place in 1994, so I was like, oh, I get to get nostalgic with this. This is gonna be great.
That sounds really fun, actually.
Yeah, and it takes place at like a summer camp, so
Oh, I
uh
love that stuff.
yeah, for sure. So that'll be cool. I've been working on the pages for that. I did the writing on it and doing all the artwork. I'm hiring somebody to do the lettering though, because I do not do the lettering. That's an art form all on its own that I'm not very good at.
All right.
But yeah,
Well,
other than
we'll
that,
put your links in the description of the video and stuff. Do you care if people know your real name? Like
oh
you're
no, the real name's fine.
okay, then I'll just keep it as is, and I'm gonna do some editing to add some of these links and companies and stuff that you've brought up to it, and then I'll
Yeah,
probably post this next week sometime.
yeah, sweet. And if you need an image or whatever for the video, I'll send over
Yeah, send
a
me whatever you
headshot
got.
image.
Whatever. Otherwise, I'm gonna go online and try to pull whatever I can. But if you have what you want me to post, for sure, send that
Yeah.
to me. And yeah, thanks a lot for coming on and doing this with me. And I'll definitely have to try to meet up with you in a convention sometime, and we'll do this again next year.
Oh heck yeah. Yeah, thanks for having
Yeah, for sure. All
Yeah.
right. Well, I'll end it there and I'll look forward to an email.
All right, cool.
All right. Thanks a lot,
All right.
man. See ya.
Yep. Bye.